welcome to the Learning from Our Mistakes podcast.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to you, Addie.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day to you. I forgot before we were recording this that this is Father's Day today. Happy Father's Day. You just
Thanks,
did
it's
your
been a good
Father
day.
Day celebrations. You taught the singing time today at church.
Yeah, that's a new challenge that I've never done before. That was fun.
Were the kids good? Did they do good?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's kids that are like 3 to 10, 11, and so the
Mhm.
3-year-old kids, you're like, I don't know, they're kind of lost, it feels
Lost
like at
cause.
times,
Yep.
but they're cute and they're doing their best and they're having fun, and so, yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
That's gonna be my Liza in a year or so.
I
I
know,
can't
it's gonna be
wait.
wild.
It's so
Um,
crazy.
before we jump into, like, the meat of what we're gonna talk about today.
Mhm.
Yesterday I went and saw a movie with my mom. It was fun. The movie's
Nice.
called Pressure. It was a good movie. It's about the
Yeah,
kind of some of the the weather lead up to the D-Day invasion. And anyway, it was fun. It was fun to go see the movie. It was a really good movie. I highly recommend it. As we were leaving the theater, somehow my mom and I were talking and we got onto the topic of the book club that she's a part of. And I think we
yes.
were talking. I think we were talking about you guys and like, like what are you doing to make friends and develop a community and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And she says, "Man, it'll be 50 years. This year's their 50th anniversary that my mom and her friends have been having the Ladies of the Evening book club."
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and so just the quick, because I think this is important, right? Is
Mhm.
we've been talking a lot about building communities. And so, she's living in Vegas. She has a bunch of her friends that they're college graduates, they're smart people, and they feel like my brain's wasting away because I have toddlers and little babies and I'm not doing anything to socialize. I just feel like my life is inside of a kid vacuum. And so they decided, hey, we're going to come up with this Ladies of the Evening book club. They would meet once a month. The women would have to put their children to bed, and then they would meet at like 9 o'clock at night or whatever. And they
Mhm.
all had to like ask their husbands for permission. Like, honey, would it be okay if we met once a month? And I'm going to have everything. Dinner's going to be ready. I'll put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
Like they did everything. Like, and it's just funny because it's a different era where um, men didn't do very domesticated things back in that time. And so,
Yeah.
um, but anyway, I know you do things within your community, and I think that's awesome that you do that, and it's an important thing to do, to have fun, to build up.
Yeah, that's super awesome. There's a local book club that I've been thinking about joining, but we'll see if I actually do it.
On their 25th anniversary, the Las Vegas Review Journal did a write up about the
Oh,
Ladies of the
cool.
Evening book club. And so there, some reporter came and like it was at our house, and like they took this picture of my mom, and it was like they took the picture at the absolute worst time. She's like, and like her hair
Yeah.
looks kind of frizzy and her hands are out like because she's trying to make an expression. And like that was
Yeah.
the picture, like, run with that one.
That's awful. They're doing grandma dirty over there.
And so I asked her, I said, well, for the 50th, are you going to get more press time? She goes, I've been wondering if I should tell them about it. Is this newsworthy? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, who
Why not?
cares?
They did it 25 years ago,
Yeah. Follow-up
so
story.
follow up. That's fun. Well, we have decided to do a new little series of sorts called The Cost of Being Wrong. So if I think will be about the next 10 episodes. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know, just kind of dive into different sections. I feel like it'll be a lot of a Q&A for you, Dad, where you'll give us people some
Yeah.
advice or, and then I can also give you my two cents on some of these things too. But for this week, the topic is like the biggest mistake of our 20s. And obviously I am in the middle of my 20s. So I've made a handful of mistakes here and there, but nothing that I'm like, feel like it's been monumental to my life quite yet. Who knows? Maybe I have made a mistake. I don't know. But I think that you'll have some valuable advice for us. But with that, so kind of like on the topic of like mistakes and stuff like that, when you think of your 20s, what mistake like comes to the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Ray and I were talking about this, and kind of trying to figure out like I think sometimes history is kind in that you forget about a lot of the stupid things that you do, and you kind of remember the good things. At least that's how I work. Um,
Mhm.
and as I was kind of thinking about this, I kind of mentioned this to you yesterday. Like, I think one of the hardest things about parenting is you don't know if what you're doing right now is good or bad, and you won't know for years down the line. And that's the part
Yep.
that's probably the part that stinks the most is you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna try this new method." And you're like, sometimes I guess you might know, like, yeah, this is clearly isn't working, but you have no idea like the psychological damage, good or bad, that you could be doing until like, 20 years down the line. You're like,
Years
okay,
later.
that was
Yeah.
so, I guess I'll just mention that. Like, I think it looks like you're turning out pretty well. Aubrey and David seem to be pretty good. Jonathan and Ralph, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but so anyways, mistakes in the 20s. I kind of thought about this in a number of ways. Like, I think there's like parenting mistakes. I think there's some relationship mistakes. I think maybe some financial. That's kind of like the different areas that I kind of was thinking about. And if you want me to go into one more than another, just let me know. But I think I'll start with the parenting side. Um, it's funny, like the way we disciplined you is significantly different than the way we disciplined literally any of the other kids, but especially like the youngest kids. And that's honestly, it's in some ways you're better for it, and in other ways you're not, because the level of impatience that we had for stuff that was of absolute no importance was stupid. And I think fine, like it's hard because right now, like all is your Eliza and Joshy, and you
Mhm.
want them to be perfect. And
Yeah.
at some point you realize they're not going to be perfect. I don't want them to be perfect. They need to make mistakes and then learn from those mistakes. And
Mhm.
you need to realize, just as Renee and I did as parents, that give kids grace and let them make mistakes, and it's going to be fine. It's really going to be fine. Um, I feel like with you, like your nose was in the corner a lot, and like you were not a bad kid in any way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
so but you also like I think sometimes there's like oh, dad's gonna whip our butt. Like I think there's an element of like maybe fear or respect, probably more fear than respect, of like, oh, you better watch out or else. And then that kind of like lesson gets taught down to the other kids. But that's not a good way of teaching either.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of the stage I'm in of, like, trying to figure out what's important, what's not important. There's a lot of things where, like, Liza will get in trouble for something, and then later on, I'm like, "Why did I even get her in trouble for that?" Like, it literally is, like, the stupidest thing ever, but also, at the time, I was like, "This is the most important thing, that you don't ever do this."
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's just I don't know. It's so that's, like, the hardest thing to figure out of, like, where's the line, and how do you implement any sort of discipline? I have no idea still. I still have no idea.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure
And,
it
and
out.
it It's such a hard line, and honestly, I feel like a lot of that can come from I'll just term it like lazy parenting. That's probably not the best term for it, but it's one of those moments where you're tired and you should get
Mhm.
off the couch or put your phone away and pay attention to your kid. And rather than like yelling at them from across the house of like, "Hey, put that down. Hey, stop that." If you put your phone down or if you get off your butt and put your book down and walk over to them and help them or do it like hand
Yes.
over hand kind of thing. And again, it's so hard because you're fighting lack of sleep and you're wrestling the kids and you're cooking and you're cleaning and you're changing diapers and everything that's going on. So like I get it. Like it's super easy on a podcast to say, well, just get up and put your phone away. But it's really hard in that moment to be patient and to get up and do that.
That's
And
so
so
true.
yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest mistakes we made is that impatience of just being lazy parenting. But it's not, I don't think it's because you're lazy. I think it's just because you're tired. So maybe
Yeah.
tired parenting.
I also think too of, like, there's some days where I'm like, "Oh, man, I've been so patient all day long," and then in, like, the later evening or the afternoon, something happens and I just snap, and I'm like, now I'm, like, freaking out about something that's, like, the smallest thing that's happened all day long, and Eliza's like, "What's going on? My mom's, like,
Yeah.
insane person," and that she's just but it's so she's just so tender because she knows when I'm upset. She's very I think she's an empath of sorts. She just is very in tune to all emotions around us, and, she'll come over and try to give me, like, a kiss. She'll come over and go, like, puff out her lips and give try to give me kisses, and because she knows that I'm, like, upset with something that she's done, but she's just so innocent. She doesn't know, right from wrong. She colored on my chair the other day, and I definitely probably didn't handle it the way I should have, but she hasn't colored on the chair since. So, it's
Yeah.
hard to figure it all out.
It it is so hard. It just is, and that's you're gonna have stuff's gonna get ruined, things are gonna get broken, and
Mhm.
but it's like, I don't want this relationship to be broken, and so my picture frame might be shattered, but I don't want this relationship to be shattered, and that can be a hard thing when it's something that's important to you.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where, like, I guess breathing. I mean, there was a story. I won't go into the details of it, but so David, our son, my son, who's almost 19 now, when he was a senior in high school, he did something in my mind which was incredibly stupid, and I was going to kill him. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. Like, he was going to be grounded forever, and thankfully, like, he wasn't around at the time for to get my initial reaction. Renee and I had like some event that we were going to, and so we didn't talk to him that night because it was too late. We finally talked like the next day, and so I had like 48 hours to kind of calm down from this thing. And having that time, it was so good to have that time because it allowed me to have a different perspective, to take the emotion out of that
Mhm.
disciplinary action. And I think sometimes where there's things that are disrespectful that we overreact to because they're kids that, like you said, they're innocent. Like they don't know that they're being disrespectful. And so it's just a matter of like hey, you shouldn't say this, or hey, let's not do this. And it's just you know, a quiet answer turneth away wrath.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so, like, on that topic kind of like, if you could go back and reparent us per se, what would you do? Like, would you do it differently? Would you do like, what things would you try to change?
So that's kind of one of the things Renee and I were talking about. Like, one of the things she said is like, with you girls, we had two girls first. Is she's like, I did such a good job of reading with them. Like, she would always read
Mhm.
to you guys, and then when she had the boys, like, she's like, I was just so tired all the time, and I didn't have the energy to keep it up. And she's like, I feel really bad because I just didn't like. She would read with the boys, but not to the extent that she read with
Yeah.
you girls. And so that was one of the things that she said is like, she said, I definitely would have read more with the boys. And part of her, part of me is telling her, like, Renee, you got to have grace on yourself. Like, when you had Addie and Aubrey, it was just Addie and Aubrey. So it was easy. But, now Addison's in school. So we got to help her with homework. And then Aubrey's in school and then there's more
Yep.
soccer and dance and there's like more activities. And
Mhm.
so all of a sudden there's not the same amount of time for that. And so it's hard to go back and armchair quarterback. Okay, what would I have done different? Because I think of some of the activities we did we do too many activities? I don't know if we did. I definitely remember there was one time we conscientiously said we need to take a break for a season. There was a Saturday where there was 3 games at 8 a.m. at 3 different parks, and I was coaching your team. I think
Mhm.
mom went with Aubrey, and then we had a grandparent take David. And Renee and I sat down and we just said, we feel like we're going crazy right now. We
Yeah.
need to reset. And so the next season came along. We told the coaches, like, hey, we're out. We need a break. And they're like, cool, come on back when you did. And it was so good to take that break. And so I guess that'd be the advice, like, is make sure as you're putting stuff on your plate and it starts to get overwhelming, don't be afraid to just say, "Yeah, we're canceling this," or "I already paid for that thing. I don't care. My family, we need a break to get away from this." And then as you're taking that break, kind of do that evaluation, like, well, what are we doing with this time to make sure that this is good family time? Are we just replacing
Yeah.
it with TV, or are we going to replace it with something that's good family time?
Yeah, and two, another takeaway I kind of got from that too is, like, being able to sit down you sat down with mom and you guys are like, "Hey, let's, like, reevaluate." So, like, being
Yeah.
comfortable to go and say to your spouse or your partner, whatever, it's like, "Hey, like, how are we doing? Get a check-in because that, I think, can help. If one needs something and can communicate it with the other, it helps balance everything out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, so that can lead into like the second thing, right? So it's like, okay, what can I do better in my 20s? And so I think of like the relationship side. So talking parenting side, I'm sure we didn't do a good enough
Mhm.
job diving deep into that, but
Yeah.
like on the
We'll go into that
on
next week.
but on the with your spouse, partner, or whatever,
Mhm.
um, you know, some of the things we did good is we dated, we continued to court each other,
Mhm.
um, and that's important. You know, when I was talking to Renee, like some of her, like one of the things she said is like, I guess she had like a lot of resentment in her 20s where she kind of started to want to blame other people for the situation that she was in. And not that I would say she was in a bad situation, it's just maybe different than what she had anticipated.
Mhm.
Um, and then, but she said to me, she goes, one of the things you were really good at, Josh, was continuing to make time for yourself. And she's like, I probably should have done that. And so, like, I would still have a night a week where I'm like, hey, I'm going to go play basketball with the guys, or I would still work out in the mornings, or like I was in a softball league or something like that. Like I feel like,
Mhm.
and this is when like you guys were like little, like you were like,
Yeah.
2 years old, little. And that to me is you can't draw water from an empty well. And so
Mhm.
if I don't refill my bucket, then I can't give to my spouse and I don't have anything for my kids and life just becomes a doldrum. And so, I should have done a better job of like, hey, Renee, you go out with your girls, like go have a night to yourself, go
Yeah.
whoever that is, you go do stuff, let me take the kids and just like let's do this. Um, if she would have or not, I don't know. It's up to her. But so I think it's incredibly important, like continue to court, like whatever I did to trick Renee to marry me, I have to continue to do.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you take time to be intimate. You need to take time to talk, make sure that you're focused on the same type of goals. And then you also have to fill your own bucket.
Yeah, on along that line too, the I think I can't remember when it was, probably like a month or so ago, me and Brendan were having a conversation and, during school time, it's so busy. It's like go, go, go for Brandon, and it's like, "Okay, if we have time to do anything else extra, thank goodness."
Mhm.
But we had gotten into some type of like a little argument because Brandon he's very good at being able to take time in his mornings, and I was getting, like, a little bit, resentful of that because I'm like, "I want time for myself too, where's my time?"
Yeah.
But I never, like, expressed that to Brandon, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like, yeah, if you wanna go do something, I can take the kids to class this week one day or whatever, and it'll be harder for me, but, like, you can take, 30 minutes or whatever to go do X, Y, and Z or, do something." And so I think it's like it's so true, like, making sure that you take that time for yourself to go do something, and there's always more time to do more stuff, and, like, during school, sometimes that's not the time that I get
Yeah.
to have to myself, and it's a sacrifice that I have to make, but, for the most part, being able to communicate, I think, is just a huge thing. That's the thing I always
Yeah.
push. Communication.
No, I would say that most problems are caused because of uncommunicated or unspoken expectations, right?
Yeah,
And so it's
yeah,
like Brandon, why didn't you clean the house? And he's like, what are you talking about?
yeah, didn't even know.
Like
Yeah.
like diapers are clean, kids are fed, everybody had a
Yeah,
really good time, but the dishes are not done. And so now you're like, the whole house is a mess, and like,
upset. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's like, well, if I knew that that was really important, then we would have stopped playtime to make it cleanup
Yep.
time. But and anyway, like whatever it is, but uncommunicated expectations in every facet of
Mhm,
life, like, are that's the key to happiness. Because for the most part, as a spouse, like we aim to please. Like I want Renee to be happy, you want Brandon to be happy, and they want us to be happy. And
mhm.
if we just communicate, like, hey, if I could have like one day a week, I would really appreciate it. And then
Yeah,
sometimes like life is so chaotic, you just can't make it happen.
can't yeah,
But
but when you
at least,
can, it's good. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So the last one, again, like mistakes from my 20s, like I talk about is financial.
Mhm,
And um, so to me, growing up having my dad be a CPA, it helped me. Now it's interesting how like you can grow up in the same household and different lessons get taught to different kids.
Mhm.
But like the importance of financial responsibility like has always just been one that's very important to me. And so like I pride myself that like we don't pay interest on credit cards. Like if you spend money on a credit
Yeah,
card, you pay it off in
then you
full.
pay it off. Mhm.
And then I've always loved the law of compounding interest, and that's about as nerdy as a banker can sound. Um, but like I genuinely love drawing scenarios of like, okay, if I save $500 a paycheck and my employer matches it with this much, and I do that for X number of years and I earn 8% interest, how much money am I going to have? And so, like to me, when you look at the law of compounding interest, just to explain it very briefly, it's money that you put into an account, how much interest it earns, and then how the interest grows. And so the important thing that you want to do is have your money make you money. And so that's very simplistic view of it. And so the earlier you start in that game, the more your money will have the opportunity to double. And so there's a thing called the rule of 72. So if you take an interest rate that you're earning, put it into 72, that's approximately how long it will take for that money to double. So if you earn
Mhm.
8%, then every 9 years, your money's going to double. And so
That's crazy.
if you, yeah, so if you, the more money you can put in, the more time, and the earlier you
Mhm.
put in, the more it can double and the more
Yeah.
it can grow. And so my biggest advice would be um, whether you create a budget or not, you have to pay yourself first. So I guess I pay God and then I pay myself, right? God gets 10%, I get 10%. And
Mhm.
so and everybody's life situation might be different where you might not be able to pay yourself 10%. If you have a company 401k for the love, you have to put that in, especially if there's a company match, because that's free money that you have to get.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of buying a house or a condo, like buy something like that you can live in, because that just creates stability. Right now, like your rent you could get an email like, "Hey, your rent's going up $200 a month," and you're like, "Well, great. Now what am I going to do?" Well, if you get a
Yep.
mortgage, your payment's the same. Now your property taxes, your insurance, that might go up, but your mortgage payment, that's fixed.
Mhm.
And then the beautiful thing is the house that you buy for 300,000, all of a sudden it can be worth 400,000 or more. I mean,
Yep.
it can go down in value, but for the most part, it goes up in value. And what that then does is creates an opportunity for you to then sell that, buy something bigger, or continue to save more money, buy an additional house. Now you're making money off of that other real estate. And
Mhm.
so if I look back at like mistakes that I could have made is when Renee and I were, rich, like before we had kids, when we were not rich. Like we were maybe making like 50 or 60,000 a year, like which isn't a ton. We should have put a lot more money off to the side than what we did. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of one of those things I look back and I'm like, man, like we went out to eat way too much, or we just bought things that weren't that important. It's like if you just force savings yourself, you're not going to regret it. And I'll just tell a quick story. So, I'm probably in my late 20s, early 30s. I'm making a little bit more money, and I would get these deals when commission when I would close a deal. And the commission checks aren't huge. Some of them might be $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever. So it's not like tons of money, but it's like, oh, good, this is great. And so
Mhm.
I would take some of that money and I would just buy stock with it. And I wouldn't do it all the time, but I would do it some of the time. And so as I was doing this, I bought 16 shares of Costco stock. And I love Costco. I believe in Costco.
Mhm.
To me, like if you're buying stocks, like some people, like you can time the market and get in and out and whatever, and maybe you make money, maybe you don't. I like to buy companies that I believe in. So if I love the company, like I'll buy it because I believe in the company.
Mhm.
And so I love Costco. And so I bought Costco. For some reason, I stopped buying Costco. I just bought those 16 shares and was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. And so I look back, I spent like, I mean, it was maybe like $1,600, I think is what I spent on that Costco stock.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped buying it. It's now worth like over $16,000.
That's
And you're like,
crazy. Come
eh,
on, man.
yeah. And I'm like, why do I have 16 shares? Like, why didn't I buy 60 or 100 or
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
if every paycheck I just bought one more share, it could have been so much more. And so
Yeah.
anyway, I go back and look every now and then. It's like right now, I love Tesla, right? And so every paycheck, I just buy another share or two of Tesla stock, and I just feel like it's going to be a big win for me. And so I wish I would have, if you have the ability to, I would encourage you like 401k, buy something. You got to put money off to the side for saving, but I mean,
Mhm.
stocks can be savings as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, backtrack just a little bit to like paying yourself. I think it's important to I saw somebody on Instagram just like talking about how like as a stay-at-home mom, you're not actually out like working in a field making physical money, but you are taking care of your kids too. And she's like, it's so important to make sure that you also have like a little some sort of savings up for yourself too. And so I don't even remember like 4 or 5 years ago I started a Roth IRA, and, like, every single month I'll put, like, I don't know, $100 or whatever into it, and and that's, like, my quote, unquote, "retirement fund" because I don't have, like, a 401k that my company matches or whatever, but I
Yep.
still think it's important that you even for both spouse both people in a relationship to also have, like, some sort of savings too, so that's yeah, that's my 2 cents there. I don't have a lot of
Yeah.
financial advice, but
No, but I love what you said. Like, so when Renee and I were first married, I think we took like $500 and we put it in a Roth IRA, and
Mhm,
it's for Renee. It's in Renee's name, and then we every month we would put just a little bit into it, and
mhm.
like there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in that account because of compounding interest. It's like the most powerful
Yeah.
force in the universe. And it's just it's awesome, right? That here it is
Mhm.
just growing. It's gonna be a good nest egg to kind of lean onto when retirement time comes. But like I remember that when we first put that in, like the next month we got our first statement and that $500 went to like 450. And you're like, great, we just
Yep.
lost 10%.
Yeah, that's
But
literally what I felt mine too before.
yeah, but that's right. I just say, like, I don't look at like, don't look at it. You just keep putting
Yep.
it in because in
Mhm.
the long run, on average, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just crazy. We could have a whole episode about compounding interest with you, couldn't we?
Me, just fascinating.
Fascinating. Okay, so thinking about all of this, there's a lot of different things that we talked about so far, but what advice would you give to someone in their 20s right now?
I mean, that's a hard thing. Financially, I just say like you got to save money. Like find
Mhm.
out like it's tough because I think of the bills that kids are strapped. I say kids like people like you that you're strapped with that I didn't have to deal with. Right. So when like I didn't have to pay for internet because like you didn't
Yeah.
really do that. Cell phone plans were different. You didn't have to have like all these different streaming services,
Yeah.
um, or like Uber Eats or whatever like that. Like people you just didn't do that. And so
Yeah.
life was just in some ways like people are like, oh, it's impossible to buy a house on a single income now. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but it's not like you just have to find out what's really important. Like, do you need HBO Max and all these other things, or do you just need
Yeah.
Netflix? Like, so I would find ways like live within your means is important. And just give yourself and others a lot more grace and patience than they deserve. Um, we get so uptight over things that seriously are not important. And that's especially like a parent to a child. When your kid draws on your chair and it's super annoying because it's ruined now.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean,
Who
I
cares?
think, I
Who
think,
cares?
so,
I'll just
so you remember,
reupholster it.
yeah. Well, just think of the paintings, right? So you kids did these drawings, paintings, and they were hanging up in the hallway.
Yeah, like all
And then
from our elementary years.
yeah, and then do you remember what David did to it?
Yes. He, like, went and drew little people all over every single one or wrote, "This is ugly," or "This really sucks." It's hilarious. You should take pictures of it and I'll, like, post it on Instagram or
Okay,
something.
yeah, and so, like, at the time, we were so like, "Why would you do this?" Like, "Why?" And it's
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and loo literally, like, probably 3 weeks ago, me, Jonathan, and Ralph, we were walking down the hall and we're looking at it. I go, "Hey, boys, I need to show you what your brother did." And
Have
we're
they did
looking
they
and they
never notice it or know
and I
about
mean,
it?
they I don't think they
They were
knew,
young.
and so we're laughing. It was so funny, and again, it's one of those things, like, you don't just laugh at the moment because David needs to learn, like, "Hey, this is somebody
Yeah.
else's
Yep.
artwork. You disrespected this." So there's a level of discipline, but it's not a freak out of, like, "I'm gonna whip your butt," and,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's a teaching, learning moment. It's not a, "I'm gonna spank your butt" moment. So
Very
I don't did I
funny.
answer your I don't think I answered your question. Like, what advice would I give somebody in your 20s is, I would say, save your money, learn how to budget, live within your means, love your children, love your spouse, communicate what you expect. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, like, even to your like, a boss, like, if you have communicated expectations, like, "I'm expecting a really big raise," like, that's an important thing to let them know so that
Yeah.
they realize, like, "Oh, he's gonna go find another job if we don't take care of him."
Yeah, for sure. I like that. Okay, and then I think this will probably be our last question, but what's one mistake that you'd pay money to help prevent your kids from making?
Man, I so I I guess I'll answer this one kind of with the story about Renee. So she's pregnant with you,
Mhm.
and she has like 3 more classes to do before she gets her associate's degree. And she's just done. She's like, "I don't care. I don't wanna do this." And so my mom, like, pled with her, like, "Renee, please, you're so close. Just finish your associates." And she's like, "I'm tired. I feel like crap. I don't wanna do it." My mom said, "I will pay for your classes. Please finish." And so she said, "Don't tell Steve this," but anyway, so
Yeah.
my mom paid for her tuition. She took those classes, and it's funny because, okay, you get your associate's degree, big whoop. Now she's staying at home with you kids, like, who cares? But fast forward 10 years to when she decides to go back to school, her having already completed that associate's degree made that process so much easier and expedited it so much faster than had she not finished that. And
Yeah.
so I guess on that one, I would say, it doesn't matter what you're studying, and it doesn't matter. Just move your feet, right? Pick something and start studying it. And if as you're going into it, you decide, "I hate this," excellent. Change your degrees. A good buddy of mine, he's an attorney now, successful attorney. He
Mhm.
literally changed his major like 5 times. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
he was a theater major at one point. He was like all these different things.
That's
But
crazy.
you just have to move in a direction, because if your feet aren't moving, God can't direct you. But as you
Mhm.
move your feet, then God's all of a sudden like, "Hey, this is not the right direction, turn left," and then you'll find where you need to go. And I contrast that with a friend that I have where this kid's incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent, but just has this panic motion of like, I can't move, and he just becomes paralyzed
Mhm.
by doing something. And so, in the time that Renee went back to school, finished her bachelor's, and got a doctorate in Oriental medicine, right? So that took about like 8 years. I knew this kid the whole time, and he never finished his associate's degree, never finished his bachelor's degree, never got any of the certifications that he was going to work on, never did any of it. And because he was paralyzed by the what if, or then he was paralyzed by the it's too late monster. And so that's what you got to move your feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think it's like you even if it's not something that you end up doing forever, you can always I like mom, she went back to school and was able to end up doing something that she now loves. And it's like you can always redirect, but once you have that forward momentum and motion, like you're always going to want to keep going and keep learning. But if you are just sitting there, it's hard to continue on.
Yep.
You get lazy and not necessarily lazy, but you just get complacent with what you're doing and don't have any yeah, any
Yeah.
drive.
Are there any joys of the week you're going to share? We got to have at least one joy of the week, Addie. It was Josh's
Ah,
birthday.
yeah. Yeah, it was yesterday. He's 1. It was last night. The babies had all gone to bed, and I did well, yeah, last year when Eliza turned 1, I was incredibly emotional. I just remember it was on her actual birthday, and we were at church, and I'm, like, bawling, and I'm also, like, 8 months pregnant, so that didn't help a single thing, but last night, I'm, like, doing the reminiscence scroll through all of our pictures of when he was just born and bringing him home and videos of, baby Eliza and all the things, and I literally just started crying. I was like, "My Joshy, he's getting so big. He's just such a little spitfire and loves." We went to the Provo Rec yesterday, and he was like an absolute animal, just jumping all in the water, like, he almost drowned, like, 4 times because he just, like, keeps face planting in the water. Me and Brandon were, like, on our toes the whole entire time, like, making sure everybody's alive. But it's just so fun seeing how they become, like, their own person in such a short amount of time, and I love 'em. I love them so much. They're so my Joshy's getting so big. So it's so fun. That's my joy of the week. It's been a good week, but that's I can't really think of anything, and I didn't write anything down, but yesterday was a good day celebrating Joshua, so,
Awesome. I love it. Well, good.
yeah,
Well, hey,
it's good.
if you have any parenting fail stories or any advice that, I probably should have given but didn't, we'd love to hear from you. Addison, tell them where they
Yes.
could send that.
Send it to our email. It is learningfromourmistakespod@gmail.com. We wanna hear from you. It'll be a good time. Alright, well, we will talk to you guys later. Have a good week.